Everyone talks about fertilizer. But what if the real secret to stronger, healthier roots has been sitting in your kitchen all along? Molasses, that sticky, sweet syrup we often overlook, isn't just for baking. It's packed with nutrients and natural sugars that feed the microbes in your soil, helping your plants grow deeper, stronger roots. Imagine your garden thriving with just a simple, everyday ingredient you already have. Stick around, because I'm about to show you how this overlooked syrup can transform your garden from the ground up. Meet Mrs. Dorothy Harper. At 77, she has hands seasoned by decades of gardening wisdom. Hands that have dug, planted, pruned, and nurtured more soil than most of us could imagine. Every wrinkle on her palms tells a story of seedlings that survived drought, roses that bloomed against the odds, and vegetables that fed not just her family, but her whole neighborhood. Mrs. Harper isn't chasing the latest gardening gadgets or spending a fortune on fancy fertilizers. She's seen trends come and go, from miracle grow powders to high-tech soil sensors, and she knows that true, lasting growth doesn't come from hype. It comes from patience, consistency, and understanding the soil. She relies on simple, practical tricks that have stood the test of time. And among all her techniques, one stands out as her secret weapon: molasses. Yes, the same sweet syrup you might drizzle over pancakes or stir into coffee. Every time she plants new seedlings, she adds a spoonful of molasses to the soil. It might sound simple, even surprising, but it works wonders. The natural sugars in molasses feed the helpful microbes in the soil, boosting root development, enhancing nutrient uptake, and strengthening plants from the ground up. For Mrs. Harper, gardening isn't just a hobby. It's a way of life, a rhythm she's followed for decades. And sometimes, the smallest, simplest ingredient makes the biggest difference. She chuckles as she leans over her tomato patch, tucking seedlings gently into the earth. "People always ask me how I get my plants to grow so strong," she says. "It's not magic. It's just knowing what they need and giving it to them, even if it's something as ordinary as molasses." Her garden is a living testament to her methods: vibrant, thriving, and full of life. Rows of lettuce, kale, and beans stretch under the morning sun. Flowers bloom in colors so vivid they seem almost unreal. Even the soil itself feels rich and alive under her fingertips. And it all starts with that one simple habit, repeated season after season, year after year. For anyone watching, Mrs. Harper's story is a reminder that gardening doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. You don't need the latest gadget or a warehouse of fertilizer. Sometimes, the secret to healthier, stronger plants has been sitting in your kitchen all along, in the form of a humble, sweet spoonful of molasses. So, the next time you plant a seed, remember Mrs. Harper. Remember that simple, practical wisdom can beat flashy trends every time. And maybe, just maybe, reach for that molasses. Your roots and your garden will thank you. Tip 1. Molasses feeds root microorganisms. When you think of molasses, you probably picture pancakes or baked treats, not a flourishing vegetable garden. But here's the secret. Molasses isn't just sweet. It's a powerful food source for the tiny, hardworking microorganisms living in your soil. These invisible allies are the unsung heroes of gardening. They break down organic matter, release nutrients, and create a thriving ecosystem right under your feet. When these microbes are well fed, your plant's roots can absorb nutrients faster and more efficiently, leading to stronger, healthier growth, all without spending a fortune on synthetic fertilizers. Mrs. Dorothy Harper knows this better than anyone. She sprinkles a small amount of molasses into the soil when she's planting seedlings, and those microbes go to work immediately. It's like giving her garden a nutrient-packed breakfast every time she plants. The result? Roots that grow deeper, stems that grow sturdier, and leaves that gleam with vibrant health. Even her neighbors notice the difference, and they can't believe it comes from something as simple as kitchen molasses. Molasses contains natural sugars like sucrose, which act as fuel for beneficial soil bacteria and fungi. These microbes, in turn, release nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in forms that plants can readily use. Think of it as a translator for your soil, converting what's already there into nutrients your plants can actually absorb. Without this microbial activity, much of the nutrition in your garden can go unused, no matter how much fertilizer you pour on. But the beauty of molasses isn't just in its science. It's in its simplicity. You don't need complicated equipment or expensive chemicals. A spoonful, stirred into the soil or mixed with water as a root drench, is enough to kickstart the process. And because it's natural, it's safe for your plants, your soil, and the environment. Feeding the soil is just as important as feeding the plants. And molasses does both, nourishing the roots directly, and the microscopic life that keeps your garden alive and thriving. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever tried molasses in your garden? Comment yes if you have, or share your secret soil booster. Your tip might help another gardener grow stronger roots this season. This tip isn't just about boosting plant growth, it's about connecting with the very life of your garden. Every root that stretches into healthy, nutrient-rich soil is a testament to patient care and simple wisdom. Molasses is a tiny addition, but its impact is enormous. From your vegetable patch to your flower beds, giving a little love to the soil's invisible helpers can change everything. Remember, thriving gardens aren't built overnight. They're grown from understanding, nurturing, and feeding the roots that anchor life itself. Tip 2. Create a root-stimulating solution. Healthy roots are the foundation of any thriving garden. If the roots aren't strong, no amount of sunlight, fertilizer, or watering will give your plants the growth and resilience they deserve. That's why Mrs. Dorothy Harper swears by her simple, time-tested molasses solution, a small, practical trick that has kept her garden flourishing for decades. Here's how it works. Mix 1 tablespoon of molasses into a gallon of water. Stir until fully dissolved, and use this mixture to water your seedlings once a week. It sounds simple, and it is, but the effects are profound. This natural solution strengthens roots, encourages steady growth, and reduces transplant shock when you move seedlings from pots into your garden. Unlike chemical fertilizers that can burn tender roots or upset the soil balance, molasses nurtures the soil and the plant at the same time. Molasses is packed with natural sugars and micronutrients that feed soil microorganisms, the same tiny helpers we talked about before. When you water with this solution, these microbes thrive,
breaking down organic matter and converting it into forms your plants can easily absorb.
The roots respond by growing longer, stronger, and more resilient. Over time, you'll notice seedlings that are less likely to wilt, recover faster from stress, and develop a sturdier structure that supports robust stems, lush leaves, and abundant flowers or vegetables. Mrs. Harper's weekly routine is simple. After planting, she gently waters her seedlings with the molasses solution, taking care not to overwater. She watches the soil come alive, seeing the seedlings perk up, leaves stretch toward the sun, and roots reach deeper into the earth. To her, it's not just gardening. It's a way to honor the life beneath the surface, nurturing every tiny organism that contributes to her plant's health. The beauty of this tip is that it's accessible, inexpensive, and completely natural. You don't need a green thumb to see results, just a little molasses, water, and patience. Would you give your plants a molasses boost? Or do you have another root secret from your garden wisdom? Share it in the comments. Your tip might inspire someone else to grow healthier, stronger plants. This solution also teaches an important lesson for gardeners of all levels. Sometimes, the most effective solutions are the simplest. While new tools, fertilizers, and sprays often promise instant results, the real power comes from working with nature, feeding the soil, and giving roots the support they need to thrive. By adopting this one-step molasses watering habit, you're not just watering your plants, you're building a thriving ecosystem right under their roots, 1 tablespoon at a time. Over time, this small weekly ritual becomes part of your gardening rhythm, a reliable way to ensure every seedling, whether a tender tomato or delicate flower, has the best chance to grow strong and resilient. Tip 3. Combine with compost tea for super results. If you thought molasses alone could supercharge your garden, wait until you see what happens when it teams up with homemade compost tea. This simple pairing is like giving your plant roots a gourmet meal, rich, balanced, and packed with life-giving nutrients. Mrs. Dorothy Harper has been using this method for years, and she swears it's one of the secrets behind her thriving, vibrant garden. Here's how it works. Compost tea is made by steeping nutrient-rich compost in water, allowing the beneficial microbes, minerals, and organic matter to infuse the liquid. This creates a potent, living fertilizer that nourishes plants from the roots up. Now, add a tablespoon of molasses to the mix, and you've got a perfect synergy. The molasses feeds the microbes in the tea, multiplying their activity, while the tea delivers a cocktail of nutrients directly to the roots. Together, they strengthen the root system, improve soil health, and boost plant growth in ways you might not believe until you see it. Imagine this: young seedlings or delicate transplants getting a weekly dose of this natural elixir. The roots stretch deeper, stems grow sturdier, and leaves shine with vitality. Even older plants that may have struggled in previous seasons bounce back, responding to the nutrient-rich combination like never before. Mrs. Harper often smiles as she waters her garden with this mixture, noting how quickly the plants perk up and the soil seems to hum with life beneath her fingertips. It's not just about growth you can see. It's about feeding the invisible life that makes your soil thrive. Healthy microbes, thriving roots, and happy plants. That's the magic behind molasses and compost tea. The beauty of this tip is that it's completely natural, sustainable, and affordable. You're working with what nature already provides: kitchen molasses and homemade compost, instead of relying on expensive chemical boosters. And the results aren't just physical. They're deeply satisfying. There's something profoundly rewarding about watching your plants respond to something you created with care, knowledge, and patience. Who's tried compost tea before? Share your recipe. Let's swap tips. Your method might help someone else take their garden to the next level. This tip also emphasizes the importance of nurturing your soil ecosystem. Plants don't grow in isolation. They rely on the soil and all the tiny organisms within it. By combining molasses with compost tea, you're feeding both the roots and the microbial community that supports them. Over time, this practice leads to healthier, more resilient plants that can resist stress, recover quickly from challenges, and produce bountiful yields, whether you're growing vegetables, flowers, or shrubs. Tip 4. Save molasses scraps. Don't waste. Gardening is full of little lessons passed down through generations, and one of the oldest and smartest is learning not to waste. Mrs. Dorothy Harper lives by this principle every day in her garden. Even the smallest bit of leftover molasses doesn't get thrown out. That sticky, sweet scrap? It has the power to nourish your roots and your soil, even in tiny amounts. Here's the trick. Instead of letting leftover molasses go to waste, sprinkle just a teaspoon around the base of your plants or mix it into the soil near seedlings. It might seem insignificant, but for the microbes in your soil, it's a feast. These beneficial microorganisms thrive on the sugars in molasses, breaking down nutrients and making them more available to your plants. Over time, this tiny act of frugality results in stronger roots, healthier growth, and more vibrant plants, all without spending another dime. Mrs. Harper laughs when she talks about it. People think you need fancy fertilizers or expensive boosters to grow well. But I've learned that even a small amount of the right thing can do wonders. Sometimes, it's not about what you add in bulk, but what you make sure doesn't go to waste. This tip isn't just about molasses. It's about a mindset, one that values practicality, patience, and respect for the life in your garden. Old-school gardening wisdom teaches us that every bit counts. Every teaspoon of molasses, every pinch of compost, every leaf you return to the soil contributes to a thriving, balanced ecosystem. And there's a beautiful side effect. This practice helps you become more mindful in your gardening. Instead of rushing through tasks or relying solely on store-bought solutions, you start observing your plants, noticing what they need, and using what you already have. It's frugal, it's practical, and it's deeply satisfying to see growth come from something you might otherwise have discarded. What's the weirdest thing you've repurposed in your garden that actually worked? Let's inspire each other. Share your story in the comments. Your tip could help another gardener turn a small scrap into a big win, even more than the immediate benefits to your plants. Saving molasses scraps is a reminder that gardening is about connection and care. It's about seeing value in what others might overlook, in food scraps, kitchen leftovers, and the overlooked details of nature. Every teaspoon of molasses is a small act of stewardship, a way to nurture the soil and honor the cycles of life in your garden. Mrs. Harper's garden is a testament to this approach. Vibrant blooms, sturdy vegetables, and thriving seedlings all show the results of careful attention. a touch of creativity, and the frugal wisdom of generations. By simply repurposing molasses scraps, you're not just feeding your plants, you're feeding the life beneath the surface, strengthening the roots that support everything above. As we wrap up today's journey through Mrs. Dorothy Harper's garden, it's worth pausing to reflect on a simple truth. Sometimes, the best gardening secrets aren't hidden in the latest gadgets, costly fertilizers, or flashy trends. They're the things we've overlooked, the everyday ingredients sitting quietly in our kitchens, waiting for us to discover their power. Molasses is one of those treasures. Sweet, sticky, and full of life. It nurtures the roots beneath the soil and brings balance to the ecosystem that sustains our plants. Mrs. Harper's garden is a living testament to this wisdom. Every sturdy stem, vibrant bloom, and thriving vegetable is a reminder that growth comes from care, patience, and understanding the life beneath the surface. She doesn't need a chemical formula or a digital sensor to know what her plants need. She relies on observation, intuition, and a touch of molasses to keep her seedlings strong and healthy. Her hands, seasoned by decades of tending the earth, move with quiet confidence and love, showing us that true gardening is as much about nurturing life as it is about growing food or flowers. There's something deeply satisfying about seeing a seedling stretch toward the sun, knowing that a simple, overlooked ingredient like molasses helped it get there. It's a reminder that sometimes the smallest actions, a teaspoon here, a weekly solution there, can create the most profound impact. This isn't just about molasses or even gardening. It's about mindset. It's about appreciating the small, practical steps that build lasting results. It's about recognizing that growth, whether in our gardens or our lives, often comes from patience, consistency, and creativity with the resources we already have. By nurturing the roots, we strengthen everything above them. By feeding the microbes and soil, we enrich the plants and flowers that bring joy, sustenance, and beauty to our world. And here's the most wonderful part. You don't need to be an expert gardener to try this. Whether you're tending a backyard vegetable patch, a balcony garden, or a small flower bed, molasses offers a simple, natural boost to your soil. Every time you water, every time you sprinkle a little scrap around the roots, you're taking part in a cycle that has nourished gardeners for generations. You're connecting with the soil, with your plants, and with the timeless wisdom that Mrs. Harper embodies. If this tip brightened your garden or sparked a new idea, give this video a like, share it with a fellow gardener, and subscribe to the Evergreen Seniors, where frugality, wisdom, and lifelong growth meet. And we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever used an overlooked ingredient in your garden that made a huge difference? Share your story in the comments. Your experience could inspire someone else to grow stronger, healthier plants.